everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Big Sig's Platinum Fantasy Football League. Week 7 was an exciting week in the league, and we will be recapping all of the action from Week 7.
Oh yeah!
Now that Week 7 is over, we'll also take a look at the league standings.
Yes!
And we'll take a look at the Week 8 power rankings. Last, but certainly not least, as we always do, we will preview Week 8 matchups.
Hell yeah!
As always, I am your host, Ari Diaz, live and direct from New York City. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Week 7 was incredibly exciting. We had not one, but 2 Game of the Weeks. So we'll be recapping both of those as well as the other matchups from Week 7. And as a reminder, this is a 12-man league. Standard scoring, head-to-head matchups in a non-keeper format. Okay, let's kick off the show. Let's go.
Let's go!
The first Week 7 matchup that we're going to recap involves Big Blue One Mikey T getting a much-needed win, as well as the high score of the week. Big Blue One Mikey T beat Team Fucking Awesome by a score of 115 to 94. That brings Big Blue One Mikey T to a record of 2-4-1, while Team Fucking Awesome falls to a record of 2-5. And this was an interesting matchup. Both teams came in needing a win. When you look at the top performers for Big Blue One Mikey T, they were Tua Tagovailoa, Elijah Mitchell, and DK Metcalf. And, this was just a great game for Big Blue One Mikey T. He puts up the high score of the week. He gave him a much-needed win. Tua Tagovailoa was projected to put up 20 points. He puts up 33 points. And interesting start there. But when you consider the fact that a lot of Big Blue One Mikey T's players were on bye, it makes total sense. His normal starter is Justin Herbert. He's on bye, as well as Tony Pollard from the Dallas Cowboys and Marvin Jones. When you look at the other players, though, in Big Blue One Mikey T's lineup, he got 12 points out of Javonte Williams, who's projected to put up 7 points. When you look at Devontae Adams, the Green Bay wide receiver, projected to put up 17 points, he puts up 14 points. DK Metcalf, the Seattle wide receiver, projected to put up 11 points, he puts up 15 points. And Elijah Mitchell, projected to put up 12 points, puts up 18 points. When you look at the other side of this, the top performers for Team Fucking Awesome were Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and the Tampa Bay defense. So a lot of Tampa Bay right there for Team Fucking Awesome. Not enough for him to get the win, though. Tom Brady, one of his top performers, was projected to put up 26 points. He puts up 32 points. Mike Evans, his other top performer, projected to put up 12 points. He puts up 26 points. And the Buccaneers defense, they were going against the Chicago Bears, projected to put up 5 points. They put up 16 points. And when you look at the rest of Team Fucking Awesome's lineup, a couple of goose eggs in there, and those never help. Damian Williams, the Chicago Bears running back, projected to put up 7 points, puts up 0 points.
0.0.
Not to be outdone, Brandon Ayuk, the San Francisco wide receiver, projected to put up 5 points, puts up 0 points.
0.0.
Okay, the next Week 7 matchup that we're going to recap was Tecmo Bowl getting the win over Fearless Genius by a score of 108 to 78. This is a huge win for Tecmo Bowl. This is also his 4th win in a row.
The force is strong with this one.
So this win brings Tecmo Bowl to a record of 4-3, while Fearless Genius drops to a record of 4-3. And as we said, this was a matchup that was part of our double games of the week. And this matchup was an exciting one. When you look at the top performers for Tecmo Bowl, they were Alvin Kamara. He was projected to put up 19 points. puts up 27 points in week 7. Matty Ice, the Atlanta quarterback, projected to put up 24 points, puts up 23 points. And the other top performer for Tecmo Bowl was Leonard Fournette. The Tampa Bay running back was projected to put up 13 points. He actually puts up 14 points. And when you look at the roster for Tecmo Bowl, a few other notable players were Jalen Waddle, projected to put up 10 points, comes through with 9 points. Hunter Henry, projected to put up 4 points. The New England Titan doubles that, puts up 8 points. Robert Woods, the LA Rams wide receiver, puts up 10 points. And the Patriots defense going against the Jets, projected to put up 5 points, nearly double that. They put up 9 fantasy points in week 7. And not a lot of points on the bench for Tecmo Bowl. He wisely did not play the Ravens defense against Cincinnati because they would have taken away 5 points. So just a great win by Tecmo Bowl. Again, this is his 4th win in a row. So he's on a major winning streak and he's making a strong push for the playoffs. On the other side of this matchup, we've got Team Fearless Genius, who after having a good week has had not so good a week. So at 78 points, you're not going to beat a lot of teams there with that score. And when you look at the top performers for Fearless Genius, they were Damian Harris, the New England running back, projected to put up 9 points. He puts up 24 points. Teddy Bridgewater, he was projected to put up 21 points. He only delivers 17 in week 7. And Nick Folk, never a good sign when your kicker is one of your top performers. The New England kicker is projected to put up 9 points, comes through with 13 points in week 7. And other than that, not really a great week 7 out of Fearless Genius. A couple of low performers. Chuba Hubbard, the Carolina running back, only gives him 4 points, while Marquez Callaway, the New Orleans Saints wide receiver, only gives him 3 points. And the Raiders defense going against Philadelphia only give him 3 points. When you look at the bench for Fearless Genius, kind of explains why he had such a bad week. Most of his team is on bye. When you look at the bench, basically his entire bench is on bye. So fully expect him to bounce back next week and would not be surprised to see both of these teams in the playoffs. Okay, next matchup that we're going to look at is Big Blue Balls getting another win.
Another one.
This time over the Ejaculators by a score of 107-75. This is the 5th win in a row for Big Blue Balls. He is streaking in a major way.
Winning.
His record is now 6-1, while the Ejaculators, who started the season out strong, high scoring, high-powered offense, have really fallen off these past few weeks. They're currently on a 2-game losing streak, and they have a record of 2-5. Also, 75 points was the lowest score. They are the lowest scoring team in week 7.
You suck.
So when you look at the top performers for Big Blue Balls, they were Matthew Stafford, the LA Rams quarterback, projected to put up 28 points, puts up 35 points. CJ Uzomah, and this was an interesting start here. Big Blue Balls has a combination of players being on bye as well as players being on IR. So interesting start. A gamble starting CJ Uzomah, but he starts him. He was projected to put up 4 points. Uzomah puts up 21 fantasy points in week 7. So great start right there. And the other top performer for Big Blue Balls was D-Hop, the Arizona wide receiver, projected to put up 10 points, puts up 12 fantasy points. And when you look at the rest of the lineup, or for Big Blue Balls, the other player that stands out is Cordarrelle Patterson, the Atlanta running back, projected to put up 11 points, puts up 12 fantasy points, and just continues to have a great season playing there in Atlanta. Also, the Cardinals defense, who currently entering week 8 are the number 1 fantasy defense, projected to put up 6 points, deliver 10 fantasy points. And there is one goose egg, though. When you look at the flex position for Big Blue Balls, started Sterling Shepard. He was a late scratch. gave him a big fat goose egg.
0.0.
Fortunately, it did not come back to hurt him in this matchup. Okay, on the other side of this matchup, we've got the Ejaculators, newcomer to the league, started this season out really, really strong, and as we mentioned earlier, has kind of tapered off as the season's gone along.
Man, you know what? I'm tired of you! I'm tired of this shit!
Top performers for the Ejaculators were Carson Wentz, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, projected to put up 16 points, puts up 24 points. Joe Mixon, the Cincinnati running back, projected to put up 12 points, delivers 11 points. And DJ Moore, the Carolina wide receiver, projected to put up 11 points, only comes through with 8 points. And just a case of players on the Ejaculators roster just not really delivering in week 7. A lot of low performances. AJ Green only comes through with 6 fantasy points. Brandon Cooks, the Houston wide receiver, only comes through with 3 fantasy points. And when you look at the bench for the Ejaculators, really not a lot of points there. It's a combination of players being on bye as well as some players being hurt. So tough loss for the Ejaculators. And we'll see if he can bounce back from this. I'd say his playoff chances are fairly slim at this point, but anything can happen, and we'll see what happens as we head into week 8. Now, the next matchup that we have is an interesting matchup. It's Glengarry, Glenn Loss versus the Butt Pirates. And believe it or not, folks, this is our second tie of the season.
Unbelievable!
Both had a score of 104 to 104. And this was due to a late week stat correction. Originally, Glenn Loss had won this game by 1 point. But due to a stat correction, the score is now tied at 104. So this puts Glenn Loss at a record of 2-3-2. This puts the Butt Pirates at a record of 4-2-1. So again, this is our second tie of the year. Glenn Loss has been part of both those ties.
Ouch!
When we look at top performers for Glenn Loss, they were Kyler Murray, the Arizona signal caller, is projected to put up 29 points, comes through with 27 points in week 7. Kyle Pitts, the rookie tight end in Atlanta, projected to put up 8 points, more than doubles that number, puts up 19 fantasy points. And Deebo Samuel has another great week. He was projected to put up 12 points, comes through with 17 fantasy points. And when you look at some of the other top performers from Glenn Loss's side, Jonathan Taylor, the Indianapolis Colts running back, puts up 16 fantasy points in week 7. So really a good week by Glenn Loss, hitting triple digits. Unfortunately, the Butt Pirates hit the same amount of points that he hit. When you look at the top performers for the Butt Pirates, they were Jamar Chase, the rookie wideout from Cincinnati, projected to put up 12 points, more than doubles that number, puts up 30 fantasy points. Chris Godwin, the Tampa Bay wide receiver, projected to put up 10 points. He doubles that number. He puts up 20 fantasy points. And Daniel Jones, in an interesting start, the New York Giants quarterback, projected to put up 18 points, can only come through with 17 points. And when you look at the bench for the Butt Pirates, you can see it was a case of quite a few of his players being on bye. So all I can say is wow. This was an interesting game. And it puts the Butt Pirates in a situation where his playoff hopes look very, very real, whereas Glenn Loss, his playoff hopes look very, very slim. So moving forward, all I can say is Glenn Loss has to get a few wins here. But moving on to our next matchup, we're going to take a look at the next matchup that we're going to recap is Double Nutshot, getting the win over Cup My Nuts, the team formerly known as Miami Has the D. Double Nutshot won in a squeaker by a score of 103 to 102. This moves Double Nut Shot to a record of 5-2, while Cup My Nuts, the team formerly known as Miami Has the D, falls to a record of 3-4. Top performers for Double Nut Shot were Lamar Jackson putting up 24 fantasy points, Terry McLaurin putting up 21 fantasy points, and Michael Pittman Jr. putting up 18 fantasy points. Now, this was our other game of the week, and this was a matchup delivered. It looked like at one point that Cup My Nuts was going to win this. When you look at his top performers, Cooper Kupp had 31 fantasy points. A.J. Brown had 22 fantasy points, and Ryan Tannehill had 20 fantasy points. And again, it looked like Cup My Nuts was going to win this, so much so that we had an in-game name change. As Cooper Kupp started to go off during the Sunday game, Cup My Nuts had his name changed from Miami Has the D to Cup My Nuts. Unfortunately, it was not enough for him to get the win. And this was a game that he really, really needed to keep his playoff hopes alive. But not meant to be. So again, Double Nut Shot wins this game by a score of 103-102. And the last week 7 matchup that we're going to recap is the Chosen One Godson getting a surprising win over Miramar Eugenius by a score of 92-82.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Now, this was a matchup of two rivals. For those of you that don't know, the Chosen One Godson and Miramar Eugenius go way back. The Chosen One Godson will tell you their family. Miramar Eugenius will remind everyone that they are not family. They have no blood relation.
Are you sure about that?
Now, this matchup puts the Chosen One Godson at a record of 3-4, while Miramar Eugenius drops to a record of 3-4. When you look at the top performers for the Chosen One, they were Aaron Rodgers, putting up 29 fantasy points. DeAndre Swift, projected to put up 12 fantasy points. The Detroit running back puts up 20 fantasy points. And Derrick Henry, the Tennessee Titans running back, not his best game. He was projected to put up 23 points. He only comes through with 15 fantasy points. And when you look at the rest of the lineup for the Chosen One, he really got lucky to get a win here. When you look at his tight end position, Darren Waller gave him a big goose egg. He was a late scratch to that game. And the Carolina Panthers defense only posted 1 point. So, lucky that he went against Miramar Eugenius when he did. Lucky to get a win here, but a win's a win. On the other side of this, we've got Miramar Eugenius, who falls to a record of 3-4. Not his best game, not really looking like it's shaping up to be his best season. His top performers were Mike Gesicki, the Miami Dolphins tight end, projected to put up 7 points, puts up 15 fantasy points. Myles Gaskin, I should say, the Miami Dolphins running back, puts up 13 fantasy points. And Young Ho Koo, the Atlanta Falcons kicker, puts up 12 fantasy points. So, just a lot of poor performances from Miramar Eugenius' team in Week 7. Not his best week. Both teams still have a shot at the playoffs. So, I'm moving forward. I expect both teams to get some wins here. I think this win was a big one for the Chosen One Godson because he was on a 4-game losing streak. So this kind of helps him get back to winning ways. Both teams are a game under 500. Both teams, as we said, need wins, so we'll see what happens. So that wraps up our Week 7 recaps. Next up, we'll take a look at the league standings as well as the power rankings. And when we look at the league standings, things are getting interesting as we head to Week 8, starting with the Platinum Division. Platinum Division has been a tough division. At the top of it, though, we've got Double Nut Shot, ranked number 1 with a record of 5-2 and an 84% chance of making the playoffs. Fearless Genius with a record of 4-3, at least per ESPN, actually has a better shot at making the playoffs. As we head into Week 8, he has a 91% chance of making the playoff.
What the fuck?
At the bottom of the division, we've got the Ejaculators, who's 2-5, 2% chance of making the playoffs. So still a shot there, not a very good one. And Big Blue One Mikey T, who's 2-4-1 with a 22% chance of making the playoffs. Over in the Diamond Division, we've got Big Blue Balls with a record of 6-1 and a 90% chance of making the playoffs. The Butt Pirates, with a record of 4-2-1, have a 76% chance of making the playoffs. And at the bottom of the division, we've got Team Fucking Awesome with a record of 2-5. He's got a 9% chance of making the playoffs. And Cut My Nuts took a tough loss in week 7, but still in it. Currently at 3-4 with a 35% chance of making the playoffs. And when we look at the power rankings as we head into week 8, things are really shaping up. At the top of the power rankings, ranked number 1 is Big Blue Balls, currently on a 5-game winning streak.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Ranked 2nd is Double Nutshot, and 3rd is the Butt Pirates. At the bottom of the division, no surprise, we've got the Ejaculators in 12th. 11th is Team Fucking Awesome, and 10th is Big Blue One Mikey T. And when we take a look at our high power teams, the teams that are just really scoring, we got some familiar names. At the top of that list, we've got Fearless Genius, who's currently scored 777 points. At second, we've got Glengarry Glen Loss, who scored 768 points so far this season. And third, we've got Big Blue Balls, who scored 747 fantasy points as we head into week 8. Fearless Genius and Glengarry Glen Loss have been at the top of this list for the majority of the season. Now, on the other side of this, we've got the teams that are getting absolutely bombed on. These are the teams that are just getting scored on. And we've got some familiar names on this list as well, and they've been there really for a few weeks now. We've got, at the top of the list, Fearless Genius, who's had 815 points scored against them. Second, we've got Glengarry Glen Loss, who's had 807 points scored against them. And rounding out the top 3, we've got the Ejaculators, who's had 737 points scored against them. So a few teams there just taking some hits. And next up, before we end the show, we are going to preview Week 8 matchups. So we've got some great matchups heading into Week 8. Week 8 is going to be a really, really exciting week. We're going to start out with Big Blue Balls, who's taking on Glengarry Glen Loss. And this should be an interesting matchup. Big Blue Balls is riding a 5-game win streak. He's currently 6-1. And Glengarry Glen Loss is coming off his second tie of this season. He's currently 2-3-2. So per ESPN projections, Big Blue Balls is projected to put up 94 points, while Glengarry Glen Loss is projected to put up 84 points. Both teams did have players going in the Thursday night game. Big Blue Balls had DeAndre Hopkins start, who put up 6 points, while Glengarry Glen Loss had Kyler Murray put up 8 points and Mason Crosby put up 6 points. Ouch. This is going to be a tough one. I think this is going to be a trap game for Big Blue Balls. I think this is a game where Glengarry Glen Loss comes back to surprise everyone with a big win in Week 8. So I think he defies the odds. I think he bounces back from that just heartbreaking tie and gets a win in Week 8. The next matchup that we're going to preview is Team Fucking Awesome versus Miramar Eugenius. Heading into this matchup, Team Fucking Awesome is 2-5. Miramar Eugenius is 3-4. So not a terribly exciting matchup, but a matchup that Miramar Eugenius needs to win if he wants to make it into the playoffs. Per ESPN projections, Miramar Eugenius is projected to put up 107 points, while Team Fucking Awesome is projected to put up 91 points. Neither team had a player going in the Thursday night game, so they'll be full go on Sunday. And I gotta go with ESPN projections on this. I think they're right. I think Miramar Eugenius bounces back from that loss in Week 7. I think he bounces back in a big way. I think he definitely scores triple digits in this matchup, and I think it'll just be another tough loss for Team Fucking Awesome. The next matchup that we are going to preview is Fearless Genius versus Cup My Nuts. So this is going to be an exciting matchup here. Both teams need wins to keep their playoff hopes alive. Currently, Fearless Genius is 4-3, while Cut My Nuts is 3-4. And per ESPN projections, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Fearless Genius is projected to put up 119 points, while Cut My Nuts is projected to put up 108 points. Neither team had players going in the Thursday night game, so they are both full go on Sunday. And, I think I'm going to go against ESPN projections in this one. I'm going to say that Cut My Nuts gets a surprise win in this matchup. I think after that heartbreaker of a loss that Cut My Nuts took in week 7, I think he bounces back to give Fearless Genius another loss in week 8. Again, I think this will be a really interesting matchup. I know a lot of people will be watching it. I'll be watching it. I'm sure you'll be watching it. The next matchup that we're going to preview is going to be the game of the week. It is Double Nut Shot versus Tecmo Bow. And Double Nut Shot comes into this matchup with a record of 5-2. Tecmo Bow comes into this matchup with a record of 4-3. Both teams come into this matchup with wins. Both teams want wins in this matchup. So per ESPN, Double Nut Shot is projected to put up 98 points, while Tecmo Bow is projected to put up 8 points. And now, both teams had some players go in the Thursday night game. Tecmo Bow had Randall Cobb go, who put up 13 points. Chase Edmonds, the Arizona running back, also went, who put up 12 points. And Zach Ertz, the Arizona tight end, put up 4 points. On the other side, Tecmo Bow had Matt Prater go for him, and the kicker put up 3 points. This is an interesting matchup. I'm going to actually go with ESPN projections on this one. I think Double Nut Shot gets a win over Tecmo Bow. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be closer than what ESPN is projecting. But again, I think Double Nut Shot gets the win. Next matchup that we are going to preview is it's an interesting one. It's Big Blue One Mikey T versus the Chosen One Godson. Big Blue One Mikey T enters this matchup with a record of 2-4-1, while the Chosen One enters this matchup with a record of 3-4. Both teams are feeling good because they're both coming off victories. Per ESPN projections, Big Blue One Mikey T is projected to put up 96 points, while the Chosen One is projected to put up 84 points. The Chosen One did have a few players go in the Thursday night game. He had Aaron Rodgers start, and the Green Bay Packer put up 19 points. He also had Christian Kirk start, and the Arizona Cardinal wide receiver put up 4 points. I think this will be an interesting matchup. Chosen One needs it if he wants any hope, or if he has any hope of making the playoffs. But I'm going to go with ESPN projections. I say the Big Blue One, Mikey T, wins this. I'm not sure it'll be a close one either. I think it's one that Big Blue One, Mikey T, wins big. So it'll be interesting to watch, but I think it might be a loss for the Chosen One Godson. And the last matchup that we are going to preview, I should say, from week 8 is the Butt Pirates versus the Ejaculators. So the Butt Pirates enters this matchup 4-2-1. The Ejaculators enters this matchup 2-5. And I think this is a matchup where, the Butt Pirates needs a win to keep his playoff hopes in line. I think the Ejaculators at this point is really just playing for pride because his shot, or hopes, I should say, of making the playoffs are pretty nil. Per ESPN projections, the Butt Pirates is projected to put up 97 points. The Ejaculators is projected to put up 6 points, and because, as you know, or if you don't already know, he has no one in his starting lineup. He does not start anyone in his lineup until Sunday. He does not like to tip his hand. When we look at the top performers for the Butt Pirates, they were Aaron Jones, the Green Bay running back, puts up 17 points, and Robert Tonyan, the Green Bay tight end, puts up 4 points. For the Ejaculators, he did have A.J. Green starting that Thursday night game, and the Arizona wideout puts up 6 points. I think this will be an interesting game. I think this is a game that the Butt Pirates, I think they win. I think they had that surprising tie in week 7, which really was a boon to them because they would have lost that game. And they were losing that game until a late week stat correction. But I think the Butt Pirates bounces back. I think they come back and win big in week 8. And I think the Ejaculators just continues their their losing streak here. I think they're kind of reeling right now, and I don't think they right the ship in week 8. Well, that will wrap up our week 8 previews. That will wrap up our episode 7 of our Big Sig League podcast. Good luck to everyone out there. Godspeed.